What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of the 5th studio album by rock band, I guess I'll call them, Sleeping with Sirens. The new album is called Gossip. It's the follow-up to 2015's Madness, an album that I personally didn't enjoy as much, but there were still some songs on there that I thought were okay. It just didn't merit a lot of replays, and in the coming months after it was released, I found myself coming back to fewer and fewer of those, and honestly at this point, I cannot tell you the last time that I willingly played a Sleeping with Sirens song. I got into them initially all the way back in 2011. Let's Cheers to This came out on Rise Records. It was kind of a success for the label and for the band, of course, but in the coming years, they've shied away from the kind of immersion that they had into that scene. They still tour with some of those bands, but since the If You Can't Hang days, they've kind of moved on. And on their last album, it was kind of a mixture of glossified rock and maybe a little bit of pop in there as well, especially on some of the choruses, but at least some of the choruses stuck. With this new album, Gossip, holy shit, this album is bad. They just stumble around like they've never written a hook before, and most of the stuff on here sounds like they're replicating other artists. Don't believe me? Let's go through some of this. The Chase sounds like a bad Yellow Card ripoff. I Need to Know reminds me of Night Changes by One Direction. Empire to Ashes is the most generic formulaic rock song that you can really get, alongside Legends, which is basically a copy of Centuries by Fall Out Boy, but somehow even less appealing. I think the most embarrassing thing about this album is the fact that it took them 6 months to write and record all of this, considering it sounds like it was put together in a matter of days, maybe weeks at most I would give them, but 6 months they took locking themselves into the studio, and this is what they came up with? There's signs of life here and there on the album, like a backing vocal or a moment wherever Kellen Quinn will actually unleash, but for the most part, he seems very tame and content to just kind of flatline it. He just kind of seems like he's phoning it in. Not that he did, that's just the energy and presence that he has on these tracks. And a lot of them are much more almost like Western, country tinged, and it's a weird combination for them. I won't hate on every instrumental here. Some of the guitar parts are okay, although kind of stale and stiff. They're okay, I guess if you're into Sleeping with Sirens, you're a diehard fan, I think that you'll find them serviceable, but serviceable isn't good enough, especially on an album where you're really left to only focus on a few things because nothing is standing out to you, so you start paying attention to the lyrics. And look at the lead single, Legends, which is apparently going to be used in the upcoming Winter Olympics as the official theme song. I don't know if the Olympics called them and said, you know what, can we get the most generic, oh, hold on a second, hold on. We heard this song Centuries by Fall Out Boy. Do you think you could do that, except make it even more appealing to any possible scenario? Just make it as generic as possible, phone it in, and have it to us on our desk tomorrow. That must be what happened, because this song is so repetitive and so obnoxious. If you break down the lyrics, it doesn't even make sense. Remember, remember is the phrase that Kellen Quinn keeps singing on this thing. And of course, the choppy riffs are the main thing that remind me of Centuries and the way that it builds up to the chorus. But he's singing over and over again, do you remember being young? No, Kellen Quinn, I'm just the one guy that I don't remember. I have no memory of my childhood whatsoever. What kind of a dumb fucking question is that? I think nostalgia is what this album relies on so heavily, and the fact that it doesn't conjure up any of those feelings for the listener when you're actually sitting here listening to the album is the biggest problem with Gossip as a whole. It starts off okay enough with the title track. That's the first song on this album, and it kind of has that punchy drum rhythm, and he's basically saying, don't believe what you hear about me. It's predictable, but at the same time, it's kind of, nod your head along, kind of a vibe type song that's okay. It's passable. They get a pass there. And then we get to Empire to Ashes, which sounds okay with its guitar breakdown that it has, and it's a little bit more charged in the instrumental department, but overall, if you actually listen to the lyrical content there, that's where you start to take a nosedive. Then obviously we get Legend, and then we get One Man Army, Cheers, which is just basically him listing off big shot people that he doesn't seem to like, or oh, we're just like these people, we're no different, and then it's just him on this restrained vocal performance that comes across so weird, and then it breaks into this almost unbearable chorus. Trouble is guided by these really out of place hand claps that just seem like they're trying to once again take on that Western vibe, but as the song progresses, you realize just how out of place it actually sounds, especially with repeated listens. And in the context of this record, I mean, some of the songs do fit together okay in the sense that they're all kind of the outcast from their discography and don't sound nearly as good even compared to their last album, Madness, which wasn't even that great. Neither was Feel that came out in 2013. They haven't really ever wowed me, but I think that they've steadily kind of been going downhill. And it's not that there's not talent within these members, because just listen to King for a Day with Kellen Quinn on it, the Pierce the Veil track, because he unleashes there. But it seems like, I don't know if it's like them being on a major label with Warner Brothers now, or whatever it is, they just want to go in different directions. They're pulling themselves down to the ground and just watering it down so much that you're not hearing any of the real band in there. Any of that raw talent that might be there just gets drowned out in overproduction, or just messy lyrics, or just terrible sounding mixes overall. This record fails on nearly every level. There's a couple of tracks that I can bear to listen to, and I don't think that any of these songs are just like so blatantly bad, outside of like Legends, of course, but none of them are really so blatantly bad that I just want to like rip my ears out. It's just the fact that all of them collectively just sound so uninspired and unoriginal that I would never come back to this project. I would never recommend it to anyone. From the opener that's okay all the way to that generic as hell closer, War, that just basically sums up the past few tracks that we've heard. It's recycled. It's just a loop of things coming in and going out that have already been done and heard before. This record is not worth your time. It's not worth checking out. I personally am going to give this a 1.5 out of 5. Slamming the coffin shut on this one, guys. What did you think, though? Sound off in the comments section down below. I even feel like Sleeping with Sirens fans, it's just like, who is this album catered to exactly? I don't even think the fans are really getting behind this new material all that much. But if you loved it, tell me why. If you hated it, tell me why. And don't forget to leave a like on the video while you're here. It'd be awesome if you're able to support me on Patreon. It helps videos like this keep coming on ARTV and beyond ARTV. It's the top link in the description, or else that annotation in the corner of the screen. You can see my last Sleeping with Sirens review right here, or another rock review right over here. All of my socials are in the description down below. And other than that, I'll see you very soon right here on ARTV.